The cargo crate hit the floor with a crash that echoed through the entire trading plaza. Alex watched in horror as it bounced once, twice, then rolled with gathering speed across the polished stone floor. Decades of hauling freight had taught many lessons, but gravity on rotating stations still caught people off guard sometimes. The crate picked up momentum as it rolled down the gentle slope that directed foot traffic toward the central marketplace. No, 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 Alex muttered, breaking into a run. That particular container held medical supplies destined for a mining colony where children were getting sick from contaminated water. Losing it meant another 3 weeks before replacement shipments could arrive. The thought of those kids waiting pushed Alex's legs faster. The plaza was packed with beings from 100 different worlds. Scaled merchants haggled over spice prices. Floating jellyfish-like creatures drifted between stalls. A group of insectoid traders clacked their mandibles in what might have been laughter. They all moved with the comfortable chaos of any busy marketplace. But as the runaway crate rolled toward the far corner, something strange happened. The crowd parted like water. Not smoothly, but with jerky, fearful movements. A mother grabbed her child and pulled them behind her body. A merchant dove behind his stall. Even the floating creatures shot upward toward the ceiling. Within seconds, a massive circle of empty space opened up, and in the center of that circle sat a figure that made Alex's breath catch. He was enormous, easily 9 feet tall, even sitting down. For arms rested on his knees in a position that might have been relaxed or might have been ready to strike. Dark armor covered every inch of his body, not worn over clothes, but somehow fused directly to his skin. The armor had a crystalline quality, catching the station's artificial light and scattering it in strange patterns. His face was hidden behind a helmet that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of black stone. No eyes were visible, no mouth, no hint of the being underneath. The crate was heading straight for him. Alex's feet kept moving before the brain could catch up with the danger. Other species were backing away, some actually fleeing toward the exit corridors. But those medical supplies couldn't be lost, and humans had never been particularly good at recognizing when to quit. Alex reached the crate just as it bumped against the warrior's boot. Massive, heavy boots that looked like they could crush steel. Alex grabbed the container, momentum nearly pulling both human and cargo forward into that circle of fear. For a moment, Alex knelt there, just a few feet from the giant, close enough to see the tiny scratches and dents in that ancient armor. Each mark probably told a story of some battle, some victory or loss. There had to be thousands of them. Sorry about that, Alex said, looking up at the helmeted face. It seemed like the polite thing to say, even if this being probably didn't speak human languages. The helmet didn't move, didn't acknowledge the words. The warrior sat as still as a statue, as if Alex didn't exist at all. Alex stood, hefting the crate. It was heavier than it looked, and the human's arms shook a bit from the weight. Still, Alex managed a nod toward the silent figure before turning away. The walk back across the plaza felt long. Every eye in the marketplace was watching. The silence was so complete that Alex could hear the hum of the station's air recyclers. Only after Alex had left the plaza entirely did the normal noise resume. It started as a whisper, then grew to a roar of conversation. The human couldn't understand most of it, but the tone was clear: shock, disbelief, maybe a bit of awe. Are you insane? The station master found Alex an hour later in the cargo bay. She was a Felonian, covered in blue fur with 3 tails that lashed in agitation. Do you have any idea what you just did? Retrieve my cargo, Alex said, continuing to check the crate's contents. Nothing broken, thank the stars. The medical supplies were intact. You approached the eternal destroyer. The station master's voice pitched higher. Beings have been killed for less. He once wiped out an entire battle fleet. Some say he's cursed. Others think he's waiting to bring about the end times, and you just walked up to him like he was a normal person. Alex looked up from the inventory check. He's sitting in your plaza. If he was really dangerous, wouldn't you have kicked him out? The station master's tails went still. Her ears flattened against her skull. He's been there for 70 years. We don't kick him out because we're too afraid to try. No one knows what he wants. No one knows why he stays. We just leave him alone and hope he eventually leaves. 70 years, Alex repeated. That was a long time to sit in one spot. A long time to be alone in a crowd. Something about that didn't sit right. Humans knew what isolation felt like. Earth had plenty of stories about people lost and forgotten. Just stay away from him, the station master said. I don't want to file reports about dead humans. Your species is too new to the galaxy. We don't need incidents. After she left, Alex finished the inventory and sealed the crate. The shipment would go out tomorrow as planned. The mining colony would get their supplies. The sick kids would get better. It was a good day's work, but the humans. Thoughts kept drifting back to that plaza, to that silent figure surrounded by empty space. 70 years was too long for anyone to sit alone. That night, Alex looked up what little information the station database had on the warrior. Wasn't much. Fragments of legends about something called the Eternal Guard. Warriors from a civilization that died 3,000 years ago. The records were incomplete, corrupted by age. But one phrase kept appearing. They stood so others could live. Alex thought about that phrase for a long time before sleep came. And when it did, dreams were filled with an image of a giant sitting alone while the galaxy walked past, too afraid to see the person underneath the armor. 3 days of normal cargo work passed before Alex made the decision. It wasn't a dramatic moment, no sudden revelation, just a growing certainty that leaving the warrior alone felt wrong. Humans had survived Earth by taking care of each other, by refusing to let people fall through the cracks. Maybe that instinct didn't stop at species boundaries. The station's food court offered meals from 40 different worlds. Alex picked up 2 containers of something simple, a grain-based dish at most. Carbon-based life forms could eat safely. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm and filling. The kind of food that said, I thought of you without making a big production of it. Walking into the plaza with both containers felt like crossing an invisible line. The usual crowds were there, the usual business, but as Alex moved toward that empty circle, conversation stopped. A Felonian merchant actually dropped the crystal she was holding. It shattered on the floor, but she didn't seem to notice her. 3 Tails had gone rigid with shock. The warrior sat in exactly the same position as 3 days ago. Maybe he hadn't moved at all. The thought was depressing. Alex walked to within about 10 feet, close enough to be clearly intentional, far enough to not be threatening. Then sat down cross-legged on the floor and set one container aside. Brought lunch, Alex said, opening the other container. Steam rose from the heated grain. It smelled like earth rice, which made sense since humans had. Introduced it to Galactic Trade. Figured you might be hungry. No response. The helmet didn't turn. The massive frame didn't shift. It was like talking to a mountain. Alex shrugged and started eating. The food was good, simple but well-made. Silence stretched out between human and warrior, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Earth had taught humanity that sometimes sitting with someone was enough. After finishing, Alex stood, picked up both containers, and walked away. The untouched meal went back to the recyclers. Wasteful, but this wasn't really about the food anyway. What are you doing? Alex's captain found the human that evening. He was an older man, gray-haired and skeptical about most things. The whole station is talking about you. They think you're either brave or stupid. Maybe both, Alex admitted. But someone should try. 70 years is a long time to be ignored, the captain sighed. Not our fight, not our problem. We're here to haul cargo, make credits, and leave. Don't get involved in station politics or ancient alien mysteries. But Alex went back the next day, and the day after that. Same routine, 2 meals, sitting in silence, leaving. The warrior never acknowledged it, never moved, never spoke. Some of the other species started taking bets on how long the human would keep it up. Felonians gave it a week. The insectoid traders said 3 days. Nobody thought it would last. By day 6, a few braver souls started leaving their own offerings, not sitting close like Alex did, but placing items at the edge of that empty circle. Fruits, crystals, small tokens. They were left overnight, never touched. In the morning they'd be gone, cleared away by station cleaning crews who were just as afraid as everyone else. On day 8, everything changed. Alex arrived with the usual 2 meals, sat in the usual spot, opened one container, and started eating. The grain was a different variety today. mixed with some kind of vegetable that had a pleasant crunch. Halfway through the meal, a voice spoke. It sounded like boulders grinding together, like something that hadn't been used in a very long time. Why? Alex looked up. The warrior hadn't moved, but the word hung in the air between them. One word, carrying the weight of decades of silence. Why what? Alex asked. Why do this? The voice came again. Each word seemed carefully chosen, as if speaking was difficult or painful. Alex thought about it. There were complicated answers, things about human nature and evolutionary psychology and social bonding. But the truth was simpler, because everyone deserves someone who sits with them. Even if they don't talk, even if they don't want company, nobody should have to be alone in a crowd. Long silence. So long that Alex wondered if the conversation was over. Then one of those massive forearms moved. It was the first voluntary movement Alex had seen from him. The warrior reached down and picked up the container of food that Alex had set aside. He didn't open it, didn't eat, just held it in one enormous hand. You may sit, the warrior said. It wasn't much, but it was permission. Alex settled more comfortably on the floor and went back to eating. After a moment, the humans started talking. Nothing important, just small things. The cargo run that went wrong last week when the ship's navigation hiccuped. The colonies on the outer rim that were growing faster than anyone expected. Little details about Earth, about humanity's slow integration into galactic society. The warrior listened. Occasionally he made a sound, a low rumble that might have been acknowledgement. He didn't contribute much, but he was there, present in a way he hadn't been before. When Alex finished eating and stood to leave, the warrior spoke again. What is your name? Alex, the human said. What's yours? Another pause. Kraith. Nice to meet you, Kraith. Alex smiled, even though the helmet probably couldn't see expressions well. See you tomorrow. Walking away felt different this time. The plaza was silent again, but it was a different kind of silence. Not fearful, but wondering. What had just happened? What did it mean that the eternal destroyer had spoken? That he had asked questions? That he had accepted food from a human? That night, Alex's captain pulled the human aside. Station master wants you to stop. Says you're disturbing the status quo. Making people nervous. People were already nervous, Alex pointed out. At least now they know his name. That's what worries them, the captain said. But he didn't make an order. Humans understood stubborn when they saw it. Alex went back the next day, and Kraith was waiting. Weeks turned the routine into something comfortable. Kraith spoke more now, his voice losing some of that grinding quality. He asked questions about Earth, about humanity's history. Alex learned that silence could be answered with silence, that sometimes Kraith just needed time to process thoughts that had been locked away for millennia. Your species is persistent, Kraith said one day. They were watching the plaza traffic. The endless flow of galactic commerce. Why? Alex leaned back against a support column. Earth tried to kill us a lot. Ice ages that froze everything. Diseases that wiped out entire populations. Droughts, floods, earthquakes. The planet wasn't kind. We learned that giving up meant dying. So we stopped giving up. Something in Kraith's posture shifted. His helmet tilted slightly, and for the first time Alex wondered what his face looked like under there. Your world made you strong through hardship. Made us stubborn, Alex corrected. Strength came later. First we just learned to try one more time. Even when it seemed hopeless, Kraith went quiet. His four arms rested in that familiar position, but there was tension in them now. My people understood that philosophy. It was the first time he'd mentioned his people directly. Alex waited, sensing that pushing would close the door that was just starting to open. We were the Eternal Guard, Kraith continued. His voice dropped lower, carrying a weight of memory. Protectors of a younger species. There was a threat. Long ago, a hive intelligence that consumed worlds. It moved through the galaxy like a plague, destroying everything it touched. Alex listened as Kraith described battles that lasted centuries. Wars fought across star systems, his people standing as the shield while other species grew behind that protection. They weren't conquerors or rulers. They were guardians who asked nothing in return. We won, Kraith said. The hive was destroyed, but the cost. He paused, and Alex could hear pain. in that ancient voice. 99% of us died. Our homeworld was shattered. Our cities, our history, our children, all gone. The survivors couldn't rebuild. There were too few. We scattered. Some sought death in battle. Some simply disappeared. I stayed. Why? Alex asked softly. Because dying felt like abandoning the watch, Kraith said. My people died protecting others. If I died too, who would remember? Who would know what they sacrificed? So I sat, and I waited for 3,000 years. I've carried their memory. When I die, they die with me. The plaza suddenly felt very quiet. Alex understood loss. Humanity had lost entire cultures, entire peoples throughout history. But to be the last one, the only living memory of an entire species, that was a burden beyond imagining. That's a hell of a thing to carry alone, Alex said. Yes, Kraith agreed. You know, Alex continued, choosing words carefully. Humans build memorials. We tell stories. We keep names alive. Even after people are gone. Maybe you're sitting here isn't just waiting. Maybe it's witnessing. Maybe you're the memorial. Kraith turned his helmet toward Alex. Really looked at the human for the first time? I had not considered that perspective. Before Alex could respond, alarm sirens screamed to life. The plaza erupted in chaos. People ran in all directions. Overhead speakers crackled with emergency broadcasts in a dozen languages. A ship had crashed into the lower docking ring. Hull breach. Section depressurizing. Hundreds trapped. Security forces rushed past, but even through their helmets Alex could see fear. The damaged section was too unstable. Reinforced doors were sealing to protect the rest of the station. Anyone trapped inside would die. It was protocol, sacrificing the few to save the many. Alex stood without thinking, grabbed an emergency kit from a nearby station locker, started running toward the danger zone. Behind, Alex could hear the captain shouting, telling the human to stop, to let security handle it. But security wasn't handling it. They were sealing doors and writing off the trapped people. The human's feet pounded against the metal floor. Earth had taught a simple lesson. When people need help, you help. It didn't matter if they were strangers. Didn't matter if it was dangerous. You helped because that's what separated humans from the harsh world that raised them. The reinforced door to the damaged section was closing, massive hydraulics pulling it shut with mechanical inevitability. Alex could see people on the other side, pressing against the transparent barrier, screaming silently. 30 seconds until it sealed completely. 20 seconds. Alex pushed harder, legs burning. 10 seconds. Close enough to see their faces, their terror. 5 seconds. Alex dove, sliding across the smooth floor like a runner stealing base. The door slammed shut behind with a boom that shook the floor. On the other side, security officers stared in disbelief. One started to override the door, to pull it open again. Another stopped him. Protocol said no one goes in. Protocol said the section was lost. Alex rolled to their feet, took in the chaos. Debris everywhere. Fires burning in the thin oxygen. Smoke making it hard to see. People huddled in groups, some injured, all terrified. A massive support beam groaned overhead. Metal stressed past its limits. Listen up, Alex shouted, voice cutting through the panic. Humans had spent millennia organizing in crisis. It was practically instinct. You three, grab that foam canister and seal that breach. You, help me check the injured. Everyone else, find structural supports and brace them. Move, something in the command, in the certainty, made them respond. Beings from a dozen species started following instructions. They had been waiting for someone to tell them what to do. Alex had stepped into that role without thinking. Then the floor shook. A section of ceiling tore free. Alex looked up and saw death falling. Tons of metal and composite material. There was no time to run. No time to do anything but watch. The debris stopped, held in midair by 4 massive arms. Kraith had followed the human into hell. The ancient warrior held the falling debris like it weighed nothing. His armor blazed with light that hadn't been seen in 3,000 years. Energy patterns crawled across the crystalline surface, ancient technology responding to need. He shifted his grip and hurled the massive chunk of ceiling away from the survivors. It crashed into an already damaged wall, adding to the chaos but saving lives. That beam, Alex shouted, pointing to a support that was buckling. Can you hold it? Craith moved, faster than something his size should be able to move. He caught the beam with two arms as it started to collapse, held it steady while people scrambled out from underneath. His boots tore grooves in the metal floor from the force of bracing against the weight. They fell into a rhythm. Alex directed, Craith executed. The human's quick thinking combined with the warrior's impossible strength. Seal that breach with the emergency foam. You apply pressure to his wound. Craith, we need that. Door panel moved so we can access the secondary vents. The warrior's armor continued to glow. Shields formed around groups of survivors, protecting them from flying debris. His movements were precise despite his size, careful not to injure the fragile beings he was protecting. This was what he had been built for, what his entire species had dedicated themselves to, protection. But even Craith's power had limits. The main hull breach was too large. Emergency foam couldn't seal something that size. And the atmospheric pressure was dropping. Alex could feel it in their ears. In a way, breathing was getting harder. They had maybe 10 minutes before explosive decompression killed everyone. Alex examined the breach. It was a jagged tear in the station's outer hull, stars visible through the gap. The beauty of space looking deadly and cold. There was no way to seal it. Not with the tools they had. Not in the time they had. There has to be a way, Alex muttered. Humans didn't accept impossible. Couldn't afford to. Earth had taught that lesson too well. The human's eyes tracked across the debris field. Pieces of hull plating, twisted support beams, melted composite material from the crash. An idea formed. Insane, probably suicidal, but maybe possible. Craith, Alex said, we can't seal the breach, but we can redirect it. The warrior looked at the human. Explain, we use the debris to build a channel. Alex spoke quickly, working through the calculations. Vent the pressure in A. Control direction. Away from us. It won't stop the leak, but it'll buy time for emergency crews to reach us. The timing must be perfect, Craith observed. If the channel fails, the pressure wave will kill everyone. Yeah, Alex admitted. But staying here definitely kills everyone. I'll take maybe over definitely. Craith's helmet tilted in what might have been approval. Tell me what to move. They worked fast. Alex marked positions with emergency flares while Craith hauled pieces of hull. Plating that would have required industrial equipment to lift. Each piece weighed tons. He positioned them with the delicacy of a surgeon. The other survivors helped where they could, holding smaller pieces in place, using their emergency foam to seal gaps. It became a group effort, species that had been strangers working together. A Felonian used her 3 tails to brace a panel, while an insectoid trader welded it with a cutting torch set to reverse. Humans weren't the only ones who helped in crisis. They were just the ones who ran toward it first. Last piece, Alex called out. It was the biggest section, part of the original hull. Craith lifted it, arms straining even with his enhanced strength. Alex guided it into position. Little to the left. Perfect. Hold it there. The human grabbed an emergency welder, hands shaking from exhaustion. The tool felt heavy. Spots danced in Alex's vision from the thin air. But the weld had to be perfect. One weak point, and the whole thing would fail. Craith watched the human work, saw the determination, the absolute refusal to quit even when the body was failing. This was what he had spoken about. This was Earth's gift to humanity. They tried one more time. Done, Alex gasped, stepping back. Brace yourselves. The pressure released, a roar like a hurricane as atmosphere vented through their makeshift channel. The debris held, vibrating from the force but staying in position. The deadly decompression was redirected away from them, flowing harmlessly into space. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the emergency doors finally burst open. Security teams poured in, medics with oxygen, engineers with proper sealing equipment. They stared at the survivors, at the impossible debris channel, at Craith standing protectively over the wounded. Everyone's alive, the security chief said, disbelief clear in his voice. They're all alive. Medical teams took over. Alex refused treatment until others were helped first. Humans were stubborn that way. Kraith remained nearby, wouldn't leave until he knew the human was safe. Their roles had reversed. Now the ancient warrior protected the fragile one who had shown him purpose. The station master arrived, a dozen officials trailing behind. She wanted to honor them, make speeches about heroism. Alex waved it off. Just doing what anyone should do, not anyone. Kraith's voice cut through the noise. He looked at the gathered crowd, at the survivors being carried to safety. Only humans run toward danger for strangers. Only humans refuse to abandon people they have never met. He turned to the officials. I have watched the galaxy for 70 years, seen thousands of species. Most look away from suffering. They have reasons, good reasons, but humans see pain and they reach out. They see danger and they run toward it. They are what my people were, what the galaxy needs. Silence fell. The ancient warrior speaking more words in one moment than he had in decades. They are the new eternal guard, whether they know it or not. They carry that spirit, that duty to protect, not because they must, but because they cannot stand to watch others suffer. Alex felt uncomfortable with the attention, with the weight of Kraith's words, but before the human could protest, others approached, tentatively at first. A merchant brought food. A parent brought a child to say thank you. The circle of fear that had surrounded Kraith for decades was breaking, and the ancient warrior, for the first time in 3,000 years, accepted their gratitude. The plaza transformed over the following days. Kraith no longer sat in isolation. Merchants nodded as they passed. Parents stopped being afraid. Some even greeted him. The ancient warrior responded with small gestures, a tilt of his helmet, a slight raise of one hand. 3,000 years of silence breaking down piece by piece. Alex watched the change with quiet satisfaction. Humans understood that sometimes the smallest actions created the biggest ripples. One person reaching out could change everything. It was a lesson Earth had taught through countless stories of individuals who refused to accept the status quo. Station administrators approached Kraith with an offer. They needed a chief of security, someone with his experience and power, someone who understood protection rather than just enforcement. Kraith looked to Alex before answering. The human had become his anchor to this new existence. It's not about what you were, Alex said. It's about what you want to be. You've been carrying the past for 3,000 years. Maybe it's time to build something new. Kraith considered this. For the first time since his people fell, he had a choice. The weight of memory didn't have to define every moment. He could honor the Eternal Guard by living their principles rather than just mourning their loss. I accept, Kraith told the administrators. But I have a condition. I wish to teach, to pass on the knowledge of my people. Their techniques, their philosophy, if their ways can survive through teaching. They're not truly gone. The station agreed immediately. They would build a training facility. Kraith could select students, share the wisdom of the Eternal Guard, and perhaps create something that would outlast even him. The first students were mostly human. Their natural protective instincts made them eager to learn. But other species joined too. Beings who wanted to understand what it meant to be a guardian rather than just a warrior. Kraith discovered he enjoyed teaching. It gave purpose beyond mere existence. It was creation instead of preservation. Alex attended some sessions, watching Kraith demonstrate techniques that were older than most civilizations. The ancient warrior had found joy again. Small moments where his movements seemed lighter, where his voice carried warmth instead of just age. You gave me a reason to stand, Kraith said during one of their quiet moments. They still met in the plaza, still shared meals. Some traditions were worth keeping. You were always standing, Alex replied. You just needed a reminder of what you were standing for. Protection isn't about being alone on watch. It's about being the foundation that others can build on. Kraith removed a piece of his armor. The first time in millennia. It was a small crystalline plate from his chest. He offered it to Alex. This is a token of the Eternal Guard. My people gave these to those who understood our mission. You have earned it. Alex took the armor piece. It was surprisingly light, warm to the touch. Energy still pulsed through it after all these centuries. I'll honor it. I promise. I'll keep looking for the ones who need someone to stand with them. I know you will, Kraith said. It is what humans do. Word of Kraith's story spread. Alex made sure of that. Every port the human visited, every station, the tale of the Eternal Guard was shared, their sacrifice, their dedication. Their final guardian, who had waited alone until humanity arrived, resonated particularly with humans, who understood the value of stubbornness and protecting others. Memorials were built, not just on the trading station, but across human space. Simple markers listing names that Kraith remembered. Thousands of warriors who gave everything. One human construction crew even traveled to the coordinates of the Eternal Guard's shattered homeworld. They placed a monument there, floating in the debris field. They stood so others could live. We stand so they are. Remembered. For Kraith, the knowledge that his people would be remembered brought peace. For 3,000 years he had carried that burden alone. Now it was shared. Now others would tell the stories, keep the names alive. The Eternal Guard had become part of galactic consciousness again. Alex's company wanted to promote the human, make Alex a permanent station liaison. Good pay, stable life. But Alex had other ideas. There are more lonely ones out there. More people sitting in corners waiting. Someone has to find them. The captain understood. Humans were wanderers by nature. Earth had sent them across oceans, then across planets, now across stars. You're going to keep doing this at every station, aren't you? Someone should, Alex said simply. The day Alex's ship prepared to leave, there was a proper goodbye. Kraith and his students gathered at the docking bay. The ancient warrior placed one massive hand on Alex's shoulder, gentle despite the strength behind it. You taught me that. Survival is not the same as living, Kraith said. That existence without purpose is merely waiting for death. I was waiting. Now I am living. And you taught me that some responsibilities are worth carrying, Alex replied, that protecting others isn't a burden. It's a privilege. Your people knew that. Humanity is still learning it. They stood there, ancient alien warrior and young human, two beings who should have been strangers, who had become something more than friends. They were proof. That connection could cross any divide. That compassion needed no translation. Alex's ship lifted off. Kraith watched from the observation deck, surrounded by students, by colleagues, by a community he had helped build. The plaza where he had sat in isolation was now filled with people learning, training, honoring the old ways while creating new ones. A message came through on Alex's communication system. Kraith's voice. Found another lonely one at the next stop. Think they could use the same treatment. Alex smiled, already planning the approach. Teach them what you taught me. That the galaxy needs guardians, and sometimes the best way to guard is just to sit with someone. 3 months later, at a distant mining outpost, a solitary figure sat apart from others, scarred, weary, alone. Alex approached with 2 meals, sat down nearby, and began the process again. Because humans had learned from Earth's harshness, learned from Kraith's loneliness, learned that the simplest act of companionship could change everything. And across the galaxy, in a training facility on a busy station, Kraith taught young beings how to stand, how to protect, how to honor those who came before. The Eternal Guard lived again, not through one warrior waiting for death, but through many learning to live with purpose. The ancient warrior had found his fate changed by a single human, and in return, he had reminded humanity why they ran toward danger, why they reached out to the isolated, why they refused to let anyone carry burdens alone. It was what guardians did, and the galaxy needed guardians.